The second is a really difficult one, right? Because especially for me, I'm a perfectionist. And so I hate to let anything go until it's perfect, but you find that it never is. And so you have to let it go at some point. You have to decide, obviously you want to build the best product for the consumer that you can, but you always know there's something you could do better, and that has to happen in iterations. I used to build a lot of show cars, and I would be enthusiastic about building that show car or that new race car or whatever in the beginning. And you get through the project and you're just like, it drones on. And you get to the end and you really don't want to let it go because you know where the flaws are. But then you end up showing that car at the SEMA show or someplace, and people love it, and you can even, I've been blessed with several recipients of Ford Design Awards and those sorts of things. But I know where the flaws are, but not everybody does. So you got to find that balance between letting go and being willing to let something go. Like obviously, budget and money and expense and all of that is going to play into it. So as you guys go into the the professional world, you're going to want to engineer the heck out of something because that's what you guys do and that's what you look at. And the owner of that company or the sales team or something is going to want to let it go at some point. So I don't know that I gave you an answer other than at some point you've got to find that balance between I like to get as close as I can to perfection. So I probably lean a little more towards the perfection side, but commercially you got to be ready to let something go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that because that's something that we're trying to really learn this year as well. Through our design reviews, we have our mission concept review, which happened this past month, and we have our preliminary design review, which is happening in a couple weeks. And so during this process, we really have to battle with these timelines and making sure, do we want to make it perfect? Do we want to make these timelines on time? Or do we want to work on something a little bit more on the under tray and make sure that that's perfect? But then at the same time, we have to make sure everything works cohesively. Right. So we have the best race car that we can possibly have with the budget that we're given. So
you're going to find all those same conditions in business. You're going to absolutely find all the same conditions. I've seen things that are over-engineered and over-expensed, and then you don't necessarily get the sales out of them, or it's late to market and your competitors beat you. So those are all disciplines and issues you're going to have in your whole career.
Okay. I mean, that's awesome to know that we can learn it now so that we're prepared for that when, we're in that industry. But I guess we'll go on to the next question. If you had all the money in the world, what would you spend it on?
Well, as a dad, I want to make sure that my kids are comfortable. I mean, so obviously the other side of that is I want them to earn things. So I think that my wife and I have tried to find that right balance of how much do you give them and how much do you make them earn in life, because I've seen people given too much and I see what the results of that is. And there's nothing wrong with hard work and determination to earn, and you feel good about earning things, right? So obviously I would love to give more to philanthropy. I love being able to give to others, and I think we probably all do, or we should. I'm comfortable with what I have. I don't need the new Ferrari. My wife and I are involved with a place called Child Help, and SEMA is as well, which is a home for abuse and high-risk children. So different charities I think would mean a lot to me, and the ability to solve world problems. I'm not a Bill Gates, but the ability to really understand and solve world problems and know that money is going to a good cause. That's the more difficult question, but obviously find causes in the world and give back to them, and whether it's underprivileged or whether it's the ability to solve cancer. I wish I had that problem. I guess I wish I had that problem with all the money in the world. So I don't know if I would. I think that would make you go crazy. but finding that balance, right?
Yeah, I love that answer. I feel like that's also you know, something new that we're trying in our business team this year is how can we give back to our community? We get so much from Cal Poly Pomona. We're so blessed with the budget that we have. We're so blessed to have the sponsors and the alumni that we have, and we're able to network with. So how can we reach out to, you know, our future engineers in Cal Poly Pomona? So
that's great.
So that's something we've been working on. We have a high school called iPoly High School, and so we've been trying to work with them, try to get them involved in engineering. Not a lot of schools have hands-on engineering experience. Personally speaking, my school was not that involved in engineering, and so I would love students to have, you know, an FRC team or a card team in their high school, so they can build upon that and they can do well and really learn like we have been able to. So
that's awesome. My dad was a bartender. My mom was an opera singer, so I had no automotive or mechanical engineering background. But it's that it takes a village, right? I had this passion, and I had neighbors that helped. I had obviously educators that helped. I had a mentor that had graduated from my high school that came back to talk to my high school, and was a pretty famous guy in the automotive industry. And because of all those things, I look back now. You know, I had a brother-in-law that raced cars, and so it was all those things that got me to where I am today.
That's pretty cool. Thank you for answering that. So I guess we can jump on to the next segment, which is leadership and vision. And as the CEO, I would love to know your insight about a couple of these questions and, you know, just advice, because I'm taking on this new role as president of Formula SAE, and it's hard.
That's very hard.
Yeah. So I would love to have the advice from you. So the first question, I guess, is can you share your journey to becoming the CEO of SEMA and what inspired you to take on this role?
Yeah, so maybe even a little advice for you. It is what I did find early in life as I started off in this industry. You're working alongside your friends and your peers, and now you have to be above that. Mm-hmm. And that can be difficult because they may or may not want to take direction from you, and they may or may not say, well, wait, you used to be here and now you're here. And you just have to be bold about it, and you have to be strong about it. You have to be able to call out wrongs from rights, you know, those sorts of things. And even when it's a friend, mm-hmm. you have to be truthful, I think, because that's what's going to get you successful. But I started off as a delivery driver in a parts store at a Datsun dealership, which is now Nissan, right out of high school while I was going to college. In high school, I worked for Pep Boys, a big automotive chain. So I always had this passion for cars, but I started off at that end and rose through I became the parts manager at that dealership, and then I went on to work at a counterman at a big auto parts chain and kind of worked my way through the ranks. I started buying in companies. I bought a loan company and fixed it and sold it, and kind of like restoring a car. So I've had 5 different companies over the years that I've done turnarounds or bought and sold and that sort of thing along the way. And what I did find out, there's a lot of what I did find. Number one, if you have money and you have demand for your product and you're failing, it's people. And so surrounding yourself with the best people is absolutely crucial. You'll find that you can't do everything yourself. You really have to rely on teammates. You really have to build that right team, and you have to keep that team excited and happy and enjoying what they do. Mm-hmm. So it's for me, I've really found that it's people, and you'll read that a lot about other successful managers as well. Successful people is that you've got to have the right team around you. And I have taken programs that are where we've had money, we've had demand for the product, and they're failing, and realized that team is wrong, and brought a new team in, and you immediately see a turnaround. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a core principle for me, mm-hmm. And treating your people well, you know, in the long way. And it's not all about money. It's about relationship, and it's about drive and desire and passion. And people will, you know, we always think it's money that they leave for. It's not. It's are they happy with where they're at? Mm-hmm. I mean, they have to make a decent living, but they're happy about what it's at. Yeah. So just able to grow through that. The other thing I found was that I was really enamored early in life by very intelligent people, and I didn't have the greatest schooling, and I didn't have, I would work alongside people that had, masters at Harvard, and just thought that that was somebody I could learn by. But if they didn't have passion and they didn't have hard work ethic, good work ethic, I passed them up along the way. And so that was the other thing. I think I was a little intimidated by big college diplomas and by very smart people. And now if you can get a person that's smart and wants to work hard and is passionate, that's awesome. But I'll take somebody with what I call street smarts and passion and drive over a highly diplomaed person every single day of the week. So I think that's another core principle. And I will just tell you, I probably out hustled everybody else. I'm blessed to be in an industry that I love and I'm still passionate about today. And I still read every trade I can and every car article and every online deal that I can. I listen to podcasts. I still feel I'm a student in the industry, even in this position. But passion and drive, I'll take over. And people that want to learn, I'll take that every day.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing about that. I definitely, I mean, the advice that you shared was, I think you said it in the perfect time, because that was something I was struggling with. To share just my background, I joined this team in August of 2022. And I started off as someone who was working on the social media ends of things and the website. So that's what I was focused on. And then in February of 2023, my business lead on this team ended up graduating, and that position needed to be filled. And so I was thrown into that within a week, and I had to kind of assimilate into that role and figure out how to do things, because I've never been like in a motorsport team before. And that happened within like 4 months, and it was a lot of things. It was like a whirlwind.
Sure.
So I had to go into that role, make sure that everything in the business aspect of this team was working properly and cohesively with the engineering aspect as well. And then 7 months later, I became the president. And so going from, in the business end of things to managing the engineers on the team was a huge challenge for me. Most of the time I wasn't able to understand, the definitions that they were talking about, the engineering. Like if you asked me a month ago what MCR was, I wouldn't have been able to answer that. So I would definitely say learning every single day is a huge thing, and passion is what drives that learning to keep going.
Absolutely, I agree. You asked how I got to where I am in this presidency. I sold my last company in 2013 and came on to develop the SEMA garage for SEMA. I had been on the board of directors before, and I was kind of getting to a point where, am I going to retire? Am I going to go start another business? Am I going to work with my kids? I was kind of struggling, trying to decide what I wanted to do next in life. And I agreed to come onto the SEMA and to develop the SEMA garage to help other manufacturers develop products and take them to market. And so I signed on with SEMA on a 3-year contract, and that was 10 and a half years ago. When the CEO decided to retire 18 months ago, actually almost 24 months ago, there was a plan to bring somebody else in. And when the board of directors asked me to take over, it was probably in the same boat. I had to work alongside my peers, and now I was their boss. And did I really want this job? And I found that if you can overcome fear and if you have, again, you just have to be strong enough and strong-willed enough to say, yes, I'll take that job and I'll do it, and I'll do it to the best of my abilities. There's still many 10 and 12-hour, 14-hour days for me, even at my age, but I love it, and I realize that this chapter of my life is not going to be forever, and but if I can give back and give the passion to the industry, I've done it. And it was probably, for the first 6 months, I felt like I was chasing it, and but I got much more comfortable with the job, and you just have to have determination. I really do. I think you have to have determination, and you can overcome obstacles.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I guess we could segue into the next one, which is, were you always certain of your successes as SEMA CEO, and how did you handle the negative situations that you had to come across?
Yeah, so again, I think in this position, and I've run companies before, but you're much more in a fishbowl. So when I was in private business, I could do what I wanted and go to market. People either liked my product or they didn't. This position, you're overseeing about 8,000 company members and millions of employees, right? And so anything I do in the public eye, anything I do in an article, anything that we want to come out with that's new, you're in a fishbowl, and so people see what you're doing, um, and and so that you have to get comfortable with. You have to be comfortable with naysayers and criticism. And I mean, you know, you're obviously, and your generation is much more used to adapt to social media, but the haters come out.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do, you could say that you're giving $1 million to this charity, and somebody will badmouth you for it. And so you have to know that what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get done is right, and it's right in your heart, and it's right in your soul, and it's right in your teammates, and you've got to get your team to believe in what you're going with. It's that Ted Lasso believe a little bit, right? It's that you got to get them to believe, and you got to be able to work as a team and to get to where you want to go. I have ideas, but I bounce them off my team, and sometimes we change a bit because of that. But as a leader, you got to say, this is what I want to do, and I believe it's right in the world, and I believe that it's going to help our industry or help our members, and be willing to take the criticism for it. And you'll typically get more yeses than you do no's anyway. Okay. So you got to believe. You got to believe what you're doing in your heart is right. And it's not for selfish reasons. It's not for self-improvement or look at me now. It's best for what the industry is. And go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's definitely useful for our team as well. It's something that I can carry over into, you know, what I can do for the team as well. So thank you so much for the advice. Sure. It's very helpful. So I guess we'll move on to industry insights. And I think this is one of my favorite questions. And it's, as a CEO, what advice do you have for FSAE teams looking to make their most of their engineering and motorsport careers?
Yeah, so obviously it's a awesome career, and I applaud that because you know, you can, I mean, I really admire great engineers anywhere, or engineers in general. I'm not an engineering background, I'm a business background, but I'm probably a frustrated engineer. I still like to work on cars and do all those sorts of things, and I love to watch engineering. So you know, it's an awesome industry, and anybody I can talk to about that's passionate about automotive, I try to convince them to come into our industry, because you can come out of here and you can go to work for JPL and you can work on a hinge on a door for 2 years, or you can go to work for an aftermarket company and work on the supercharger for the 24 Mustang, you know? Yeah. And so if you love this industry, that's what I would be doing. And so, you know, no matter what you do, you know, we talked to this gentleman earlier who wants to go into defense, but he still loves cars. That's great, because he's passionate about defense. So, you know, there's probably two ways you can look at what you want to do in your career. You can, let's say you want to be a doctor, but you're still a car crazy person. Well, you can become a doctor and do that because that makes you money and still enjoy your hobby, or you can make a living out of your hobby. I chose the making a living out of your hobby, and I've never looked back. I'm still, after 50 years in the industry, passionate about it. I still enjoy it every day. They say there's a day that you never work. I don't know if that's completely true. I mean, there's days when it's work, but there's more days that it's part of your passion. So I have friends that, I know a guy that's a banker that's doing banking because it's made him good money. But he's really passionate about coaching and about working with students and those sorts of things. And candidly, he would tell me that he wishes he had been a coach and forgave some of the money, because that's where he loves in life. And you're going to, no matter what you do, you're going to be in your career for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. So to me, do what you love. Okay. Yeah, do what you love. And if it's racing, or if it's something in the automotive field, or if it's aerospace, go do it. Yeah, go do it and be the best you can be at it. And the money will follow, and the other things will follow.
Got it. Thank you. I think last year, just being in the team, there were a lot of questions about passion and making a job with your passion, right? So one of my team members was asking me, I love motorsports, but being in this team, our minds are always constantly on the car, worrying about the car. And so they were scared about if they do pursue a career in the motorsports industry, would that make them hate their passion of racing and drifting and all of that? And they decided to follow that passion, and they're having a great time because of it. They're able to do what they love. They're able to include engineering into racing and really grow as a person, as an engineer, and doing what they love.
Well, I'm a big fan of Errol McLaren. Zach Brown, I love, he's from California, and, I've watched, he is now over the F1 team and the IndyCar team. And he just saw him in Monterey 2 weeks ago, and he still vintage car races and all of that. So there's a guy that's now running that whole thing. Yeah. That's a car passionate person, and getting to talk to him, car crazy since he was a young man as well. So, yeah, there's frustrating days. I imagine when the Errol McLaren, car breaks down or crashes, or they're leading the race, or they're in second place and they come in and the aero package isn't right or something, that can be frustrating. But it could also drive you to do better. Yeah. And, hopefully it drives you to do better. People burn out for sure. So it's good that you understand some life-work balance. For sure, for me, probably the people ask me a lot about what my biggest struggle in business is, and maybe that's on your paper yet. So, but for me, it was really finding that family and life work balance, because I could always work harder, and I could always be more successful, and I could always make more money, but I might sacrifice my family, or I could spend loads of time with my family, what I'd love to do, but I also got to provide for them. I wanted to make sure my kids could go through college and be well on their way into their careers, and so I had to work to do that, right? I had to work to support a family. So for me, that's always that, trying to find that balance between work and, because I could work, Monday night or Tuesday night. I guess I ended up working until about 9 o'clock at night. But I also know that I've, last night I was home early, right? So you have to find that balance.
Okay. Thank you so much for answering those questions. I think we might be running out of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 12 o'clock.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Well,
I've definitely learned so much from this interview.
Awesome. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I've always admired Cal Poly Pomona and the campus, and I mentioned to you earlier that every engineer except one that we have at SEMA and at the SEMA garage and in our within our offices came from this school. And I've admired what comes out of the school, and the program here and the teachers are obviously amazing, and to compete with the big name schools is just incredible. So it for students, it's great to know that we look at Cal Poly Pomona as one of the top schools in the nation from an engineering standpoint. So